Sipping my coffee and I had this thought. I wonder how good the Tongan national side could actually be at rugby. And I think I found the answer. I need you to think with me that every player eligible is on the cards. So let's assume Tongan rugby has the bucket loads of money that French rugby does. I've also made the executive decision to keep Todd Kefu as coach. Quickly before I start, I always get chipped about my pronunciation in the comments section. And let's face it, with this unfortunate accent of mine, it's really hard to get it right. I will have you know that I always practice and the names are still somehow wrong. At the end, I'll give this hypothetical team an actual world ranking and talk about their strengths and weaknesses. And I'll also be covering everything leading up to the Rugby World Cup, so subscribe if that interests you. In the front row, we have Mako Vunipola, Samisoni Takiaho, and Taniela Tupou. A veteran, a rising star, and one of the most promising tight heads in the game. With skillful hands and tree trunks for legs, making them devastating ball runners, I'm definitely not interested in lining up against this front row on the field. Not even for a second. Every calf would be bigger than my head, and any accidental head contact would be lights out for me. In the second row, we have Vai Fafita and Adam Coleman. An extremely physical second row pairing. Fafita would be lingering around the edges, looking to burn opposition teams, while Adam Coleman would be putting on big hits, winning lineouts, and pushing the limits of dangerous play. In the back row, Shannon Frizzell, Sione Havili, and Toby Faletau. This is probably the weakest department in this Tongan side, and that's saying something. Shannon Frizzell is currently the blindside flanker for the All Blacks, who is pretty solid across the park. Sione Havili has been great for the Crusaders and is an absolute menace at the breakdowns. And Tanaki Talupe Faletau, also known as Toby Faletau, has been one of the best number 8s over the last decade in world rugby. In the halves, we've got the exciting combination of Folau Fakatava and Richie Maunga. A possible combination the All Blacks will head into the World Cup with. Fakatava is an excitement machine out of dummy half, keeping defenders on their toes every breakdown. Then there's the magician Richie Maunga. It doesn't matter what team he plays in, he can create tries out of nowhere with his hands and feet. In the centres, Nani Laumapi and Malakai Fekitoa. These All Blacks outcasts could probably feature in most countries' starting lineup. Laumapi is a try-scoring, line-breaking machine. He had seasons in Super Rugby where he topped the tries, line breaks, tackle busts, try assists, you name it, he did it. Fekitoa is still good, and is probably the perfect complement to sit outside of rampaging Laumapi. This pairing could very easily take the game away from opposition teams and would actually be really exciting to watch together. In the back three, we've got Charles Piutau, David Havili, and Lester Fainganuku. Charles Piutau is one of World Rugby's most valuable players, and it's actually quite a shame he hasn't been able to have much of an international career. Havili is consistently in and around the All Black side, solid as ever and super reliable, and Fainganuku is powerful and is definitely on the rise. I'm about to go through the bench, but you could replace any of these players with controversial Wallabies legend Israel Folau, who is actually in some outstanding form over in Japan at the moment. Now I'll get onto the bench. There's so many good Tongan players, but I ended up settling with this. Folau Fainga, Ofatunga Fasi, Karl Tuinukuafi, Lepeti Tamani, Billy Vunipola, Augustine Pulu, George Moala, and Izzy Folau. This Matchday 23 comprises of 5 different international teams, predominantly current and ex-All Blacks that are now playing overseas. Their strengths are definitely in the creative halves combinations that can make something out of absolutely nothing, and a world-class front row. I can't see them losing too many scrums. If you threw Folau onto a wing, they would have an extremely threatening attacking backline, with Maunga's kicking game, Laumapi's hard running, and Fekitoa's support play. Then you also have Charles Piutau being the menace, lingering around the attacking line and making magic moments just happen. The back row is definitely the only weakness I can see in this side. Faletau is an absolute top tier world class player, and it's more Frizzell and Havili that are still growing their games. While good enough to make the All Blacks and Tongan sides respectively, they aren't really as high in the pecking order of world class as everyone else in this side. Now, their world ranking. This is actually a great side in my opinion. It's hard to find weaknesses because this team would no doubt compete against the best of the best in world rugby. Would they win? That's another question. When I compare them to current international teams, I think they'd beat Argentina, Scotland, and possibly even the Wallabies in England in a series, putting them in a world ranking of 5th. I kind of get a little excited thinking about how competitive international rugby is and how competitive it actually could still be if these Pacific Island nations are given that boost. I want to know where you rate this side. Let me know in the comments at the end of the video. I just wanted to leave you on this thought. Imagine if they were competing in the World Cup as a side against the likes of South Africa, Ireland and Scotland in their pool. Would they have a chance of making it through to the finals? And how affected would all those other countries be missing these players? See you in the next one.